Hey guys, it's Champion Ashley, and welcome to the series that focuses on the lore of gaming's biggest franchises. This episode, we're going to tackle one of the newest IPs in the Nintendo library, and the definitive Nintendo multiplayer shooter, Splatoon. On the surface, Splatoon doesn't look like the game that would hold the Zelda-like story, but the Inkling's past is much more complex and possibly darker than people would believe. Most, if not all, of the backstory to the Inkling is located in story mode and hidden away in every level. Each stage contains a page out of 27 total pages called the Sunken Scrolls. And here on The Lore of Gaming, I'm going to give you a summary of what's in here and to help make it more understandable. Also, I'm going to be making a timeline to help make this less complicated. However, keep it in mind that, like the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline, this shouldn't be treated as a confirmed timeline. It's a timeline that I created to help things become less complicated for me and you. With all that said, let's jump into the underwater world of Splatoon. All of this begins at the beginning of the Mollusk era, where all of the dark stuff starts. According to the scroll, rising sea levels in the world caused the remaining land creatures, humans, animals, etc., to become extinct. Yeah, that's one of the many dark hints to the present real-world future. However, that's not all. One of the scrolls revealed that turf wars between the Inklings have been taking place for about 2,000 years, around the time that the first Inklings appeared. It was also during this time that the Inklings harnessed themselves a power source, the Zapfish species. These Zapfish are extremely useful and power sources for Inkopolis and are your flagpoles for every level you play in the campaign. Getting back on topic of extinction, not all of the humans were erased from history. One of the Sunken Scrolls also shows us that a human skeleton was found with a Wii U buried with it and some weird controller, but we're going to leave Game Explain to that stuff. You'll also be wondering how Judd is around. Did he come around after the Great Turf War, or before? Well, from what the scroll says, Judd's owner, to save Judd from the flood, put Judd in a capsule to save him from the imminent destruction of the land and would keep him safe for 10,000 years. Judd is 10,000 years old. Judd is keeping the cats of human civilization alive, even if they're dead. Before I start crying, let's move on to the next part of this branch of the timeline, the Act-Arians. The Altairians, the squid's natural-born enemy. These underground living octopuses have spent their entire lives underneath the earth, digging and building complex tunnel workways underneath Inkopolis, the capital city of Inkling society. And over the hundreds of years that the Inklings have been in history, the octopi and the Inklings, at the time of what I like to call the ultimate flood, were scrambling for the remaining territory left behind by us, the humans. Before the ultimate flood, the Act-Arians and the Inklings were friendly, as seen in this picture with the particular Act-Arian and the Inkling seemingly talking together. And they look familiar. Anyway, moving on the topic of the Great Turf War. After the ultimate flood, with humans out of the picture, all of the world was free for the taking for the Inklings and the octopi. And with those two fighting, the Great Turf War broke out. During the beginnings of the war, the tides were obviously in the octopi's favor. Most of the battles in the first rounds were won by them because, according to the scroll, the Inklings were being lazy squids and didn't get up from bed on time to prepare for the attack. Pretty stupid if you ask me. Anyways, the Inklings didn't have the best starting rounds of the war. However, it seems that as the war went on, the Inklings were pushing back, and with one careless mistake on the Act-Arians' part caused the plug to be unplugged, and with all their power gone, leaving them vulnerable to the Inklings' attacks, with the outcome of the Inklings' victory and the octopi fleeing to the sewers of Inkopolis. And with that, the Inklings' War of the Inklings story ends. After the Great Turf War, the Inklings recovered from the wounds of war and industrialized on a massive scale, advancing their technology, entertainment, buildings, and connection to all citizens of Inkling society. And for years upon years, ever since the Great Turf War, the Inklings haven't heard from the octopi ever since the war. However, the Altairians, like the Inklings, have been advancing, but not in culture, but in military and weapons. The Altairians learned how to craft a machinery that powers on the Inklings' main power source, the Zapfish. They had advanced not only in machinery, but in troops as well. They had created a smart, half-octopi, half-inkling hybrid that go by the name of Octolings. Once the great Zapfish, the Inklopolis' ultimate power source, was stolen, the crime couldn't be ignored. You, the hero, must save the great Zapfish and all other little Zapfishies from the Act-Arians. However, this time, they were prepared for us with an entire army and the most advanced octopi warfare technology. However, being the good guys, like we usually are, I swear, it's like we're on a job. We cut through them like we're in Hyrule Warriors. After shredding through an army, we make our way to the final challenge, the leader of the Altairians, DJ Octavio, who had a friendship with your mentor, Captain Cuttlefish, before the Great Turf War, and kidnapped him during the story. With DJ Octavio out of the picture and taken out, the million-year rivalry and conflict between the Inklings and the octopi ends. The story of Splatoon is certainly an interesting one, filled with uncertainty, facts, Easter eggs, and even humor. However, the story can only go so far until we need a sequel to fill in the unfilled details. We may never know the entire story of these kid squids. Thank you for joining me on this adventure of a lifetime through this inky world. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you really liked it as well. Comment down below what gaming franchise you want me to do. Anyways, have a great day. This has been Champion Ashley. I'd see you guys later.